Guys, from ownership to access or from access to ownership? That's a debate that I've been having on my mind. I was like, why not hop into on this video on why don't I hop in here, guys, and do this video and chit chat with you guys, because I was just bored and I was like, why not? So from ownership to access, or access to ownership, which is better? From ownership to access or access to ownership? Like, access versus ownership, what is better? You have access and you have ownership. You have access, you have ownership. Which is better? On today's video, guys, I'll be talking to you guys about the prodigal son. Oh my gosh, guys, I was reading about it in the Bible. That's why I was like, let me hop in here and just talk to you guys about it. So I'll read the Bible verse. It comes from Luke 15:11-12. So it says, Jesus continued, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the young son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to the fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, oh my gosh, when he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father hired servants have good food to spare, and here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against you, heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and went to his father. But okay, guys, let me finish. But when he was still a long way off, his father saw him, and filled with compassion for him, he ran to him, threw his hands around him, and kissed him. The son said to his father, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Guys, you can just, I don't know if you guys know the story. The story of the prodigal son actually goes like that. There was this son. The father had 2 sons, and the youngest son felt like, you know what, I want my stuff, I don't want to live here. He went out there, squandered all the money. Then when the money ended, he was like, he got a job in feeding the pigs, and now he was hungry and all that. And then he came to his senses and was like, even my father's servants eat better than what I am eating. So he was like, let me just go back home and ask for forgiveness and ask for job. He actually came back asking for a job. He was like, let me come back and ask for a job as a servant. And you guys know the story. The father threw the party and all that. If you guys want to go to the story, you can actually read Luke 15:11 going downwards. I was reading this story, and it's actually, I just got a light in my, like a bulb was lit in my head, and I was like, wait, I need to talk to you guys about this. Access versus ownership, which is better? Comments down below. Access versus ownership, which is better? As you guys heard from the story, the son was an owner. The son was an owner. He was living with the source, He was living with his dad, a good life. He was living with his source. He was had by the, he didn't need anything, but then he chose to go. He chose to go to the world. He chose to squander all his money. He wasted all his money. Then he got hired into the system of work. He got hired by the people of the system, eating pig food, looking like a beggar, making you like a pig eater. He got into the system. From the source, now he has been reduced to go to in the system. And now, like, it brings to the question of access or ownership. What is better? What do you rather have? Like for instance, I felt like the problem with like for him, he got into his senses, as the Bible says, and had a meeting with himself. He got into his senses and had a meeting with himself, and he said the father that he went, like that he will go and tell the father, ABCD, I've sinned against you and I've sinned against the heaven. As you guys noticed, the father did not go to look out for him. The source did not go to look out. You are here on the source. Then you reduced yourself into the system. And now the father was like, the father did not go to look out for him. And I feel like if the father wanted, sometimes I just think like, if the father wanted, he could have gotten the child. If he wanted to look for him, he could have. Because they say he had money, he had servants, he had all these things. Because the son was just in the country. But the father did not go to look for the child, but the child got back to his senses and went to look for the father. And the father, like when you read down on the story, there is a point where you see like the father gave him a ring. He kissed him, he gave him a ring, and the ring actually represents power. Like you are back to access. You had access, and now you went to ownership, and now the father was like, okay, now you're back to access. The ring symbolizes the access that the son had gotten back, because the son left his ownership and left the father's ownership and took his own ownership with him and came back and got access back to his father's place. Like this is just something that I quickly wanted to jump in here and talk to you guys about. In life, sometimes you can find yourself in a situation where like you're already a child of God, so you already have access. You already have access to everything that you want, but you find ourselves dragging ourselves into the system where now we are like, we don't want access, we don't want this access. We are now into the system of work, into the system of like poverty, into the system of, I don't know, sickness and whatever. You are now into the system, and I want you guys to actually take the moment of jumping back into access. Guys, access versus ownership. It's as simple as that. What would you rather have, access or ownership? Comment down below, access or ownership. This is something that I was like, okay, let me just jump on here and talk to you guys about, because even the other son that was home, he actually didn't know that he had access, because when he came back home, he was so angry, he was hurt. I've been here all this time, and this one went and came back, and you have thrown him a party. I've never even had a party. And his father was like, what are you talking about? Everything that I have is yours. You already have access. What are you talking about? You don't need permission for me to give you everything. You have access to everything that you need. And you see, like, that's the difference of what the other son didn't know, because the other son wasn't aware that he had access. And sometimes as individuals, you might not know that you have access in God. You might not know that you have access into all those things that you're manifesting, and you don't know that you have access, so you're falling into the system. And you fall into the system, you don't know you have access. And what I want to urge you guys is, try your best to pull yourself back into being into the ownership of the Lord our Father. Oh my gosh, guys, I feel like I'm a preacher now. I don't want to feel like I'm a preacher, but that's what I was like thinking about, and I was like, okay, why not share it with my viewers? What do my viewers and my subscribers think? Access or ownership? What is better? Every time I hear about the prodigal son, I'm like always asking myself, what is better? Because if you're a child of God, you always have access to everything that you don't need to borrow. You see, like now when you're in the system, you're the one, you start borrowing. Like, you want whatever I want 500, I want 200, I want $500, I want $10. But when you're in the access mode, you have access. You take the opportunity, you take the blessings, you take every job that you need. You take. You're not in the borrowing state. You take, because I'm in access mode. And when I'm in access mode, I need a car. I have a car. I need a car. I'm taking a car. I'm not in the position where that I'm in the system, that I need to work, I take the car. So I don't know if you guys are understanding what I'm saying, but I hope you guys are gotten the point. And this is something that I was reading, and I was like, let me jump on here and talk to my viewers about it. So at the end of the day, guys, think about it. Access or ownership, what is better? Access versus ownership, what is better? Go and read about the book of Luke 15 and 11, the story, and you will comment down below and tell me what you guys prefer. For me, I choose access all day, every day. I choose access. I choose abundance of life. I choose to be in the space where I'm a baby girl. I don't want to have ownership. I want to have access of those things. I want to have access of everything that I want to achieve this year. This 2025, don't walk in ownership, walk in access. This 2025, choose not to walk in ownership, choose to walk in access. And I pray that you may find God. I pray that in this 2025, you walk in access in everything that you do. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, loves.